Good evening. I'm 14 First Alert meteorologist Arden Gregory here with your 9 o'clock weather show. And we have a lot to talk about tonight. First of all, we're still on alert through Sunday for this hazardous heat and humidity. We also now have the details on that tornado that hit Pike County on Wednesday. So we'll talk about that a little bit too if you're curious what happened there. We are still under an extreme heat warning as we are expecting a heat index into the triple digits Saturday and Sunday too. We had that earlier this afternoon, and it's still really warm and muggy out there even right now. On Sunday, there is an isolated chance of some storms, and that will then help usher in some slightly cooler and less humid air and kind of break this heat wave as we get into the start of next week. We are certainly not the only ones dealing with this heat. We have heat alerts that stretch from Kansas and Oklahoma down to the Gulf Coast and then up into the Carolinas and into the tri-state too. We're kind of on the northern edge of this heat wave. But we are all under this extreme heat warning until 8 p.m. Sunday. So this hazardous heat is still going to be with us all day tomorrow and all day Sunday too. Then we've got that chance of storms mainly Sunday night that is going to kind of push in some relief from this heat. Our temperatures are still sitting in the low to mid 80s now. We topped out in the low to mid 90s earlier this afternoon. So we have cooled off since the sun has set. It's 86 right now in Evansville and Newburgh, 84 in Owensboro. It still feels a little warmer than it actually is, though. Many of us have a heat index value into the 90s, even now at 9 o'clock at night, because not only is it still very warm, it's still very muggy. Our dew points are sitting in the mid to upper 70s in most locations. A few spots even have dew points in the 80s, and that means the muggy meter is just maxed out here in this stifling range, especially when you combine it with that heat during the afternoon. This turns into just soupy, stifling, oppressive, I mean almost hard to breathe in kind of humidity. And that humidity is what makes it feel so much hotter than it already is. And I mean, we've been in the 90s for a week straight. That's plenty hot by itself, but you throw in this kind of humidity and your body just really struggles to cope. And that's because our body's natural way of dealing with getting too hot is sweating. We like to stay around 98.6 when our body temperature starts to rise because it's too hot outside or you're exercising or whatever it may be. Your body temperature rises, you start to sweat. Sweat releases from your skin and then it evaporates into the air. Now, as that water in that sweat evaporates, there is an exchange of heat here. So the heat goes from your body, comes out of your body and into the air. So this evaporation of sweat is drawing heat out of your body and helping to lower your temperature. The problem is with this kind of humidity, there is already so much water in the air, your sweat has nowhere to go. Your sweat fails to evaporate on sweaty days, you could call them sweaty days, on muggy days like today. And so you just end up drenched in sweat, but you're not getting any cooler. It's not the sweating that cools you down, it's the evaporation of that sweat. So if you've ever been somewhere where they have a dry heat, I know we're not real familiar with that here in the tri-state, but if you've ever been somewhere where they have a dry heat, yeah, 100 degrees is going to feel hot no matter what, but it is a dramatically different feeling when your sweat immediately starts to evaporate. It does help your body cope with that heat a lot more, whereas this humidity makes it where this whole process where your body is trying to cool itself down, it is just breaking down. It does not work in this kind of humidity. That's where you see this huge increase in heat-related illnesses. So overnight tonight, I mean, it's not going to be hot like it was during the day, but it's still going to be really warm and muggy out there. We'll probably still be hanging out in the 80s for the next couple of hours here. Then around midnight or so, we'll finally start to dip into those upper 70s, eventually bottoming out in the mid to upper 70s by the end of the night tonight. But then once the sun rises tomorrow, we quickly start to heat up again. Highs will be in the mid to upper 90s tomorrow afternoon. That is plenty hot all by itself. But when you factor in those dew points in the 70s, that kind of just stifling humidity, those mid to upper 90s are going to feel like we're well into the triple digits. I'd say the heat index will probably peak around 110 widespread. We could see some spots where it gets closer to 112 or maybe even 115. Dangerously hot. Sunday will be much of the same. No major difference there. We do start to cool down some with that heat index ranging from the mid 90s to about 100 as we get into next week, though. That's still pretty sticky, but it is nothing like the dangerous heat that we're dealing with right now. Anything about 105 or higher is where you're considered to be kind of in the danger zone. That's where heat cramps, heat exhaustion become very likely if you're not taking the proper precautions, and heat stroke, which can be deadly, is even possible if you're outside too long, working too hard, not taking enough breaks, not drinking enough water. You can end up in a bit of danger pretty quickly, and actually consistently year after year after year, heat kills more Americans than any other type of weather. Partially because it's sneaky. By the time you realize that the heat has gotten away from you, oftentimes you're getting faint, getting dizzy, having trouble walking, and next thing you know, you're passed out and not able to get the help that you need. So it's really a slippery slope here. So everybody, it's just 2 days here where I'm asking you to use a little extra caution, because we are in a major to right even at the cusp of an extreme risk of heat-related illnesses, both Saturday and Sunday. We've just got to get through the weekend. Then it drops back to that level 2 moderate risk by Monday, down to a level 1 by Tuesday. Now we do see a brief warm up again Wednesday, but then we're right back into that level 1 risk Thursday and Friday too. And somewhere at a level 1 to level 2 is pretty much where you would sit for most of the month of August. I mean, we're not going to get down to where there's absolutely no risk of heat related illnesses. We're still in the dog days of summer here, but when we get up into this major to even extreme risk, that's where I really get worried about people ending up with heat exhaustion or heat stroke. And like I said, that can be deadly. Heat is not something that everybody necessarily takes that seriously, but you should, because heat does kill more Americans than any other type of weather. So please, this weekend, just relax. Strenuous activity should be canceled or moved to a cooler time of day. Do it first thing in the morning or later in the evening. Wear lightweight, light-colored clothing. Drink plenty of water, or if you're not a water drinker, any non-alcoholic fluids will work. Powerade, Gatorade, juice, lemonade, whatever works for you. Okay, and don't wait until you feel thirsty. Okay, that is your body indicating that it needs water. You want to get ahead of that. Okay. Also, don't get too much sun. I know a lot of folks are going to be in the pool this weekend trying to cool off. That's fine, but a sunburn makes it that much harder for your body to regulate its temperature, and in this kind of humidity, that's already going to be a struggle. So that's kind of part one, and the most widespread and concerning part of these first alert weather days is this extreme heat warning Saturday and Sunday. But part two of this alert is that chance of storms later in the day on Sunday. I want to talk about that in just a moment, but first I want to check in on the comments real quick here. Good evening, Cheyenne and Jeanette. Jeanette mowed her yard this morning, got it out of the way. Good for you. Good afternoon, or good evening, I should say. I'm so used to doing this at 2:30 instead of 9. I keep saying good afternoon. Good evening, Suzanne and Jeff and Nancy. Yes, Scotty, it is nasty hot out there, just miserably muggy. Yes, Misty, looking forward to some relief from the heat. William's up in Michigan. He's bragging to us, says it's 70 degrees and beautiful. Well, I guess I'm happy for you, William. I wish we had some nicer weather down here. And Dara is asking what channel we are. This is Channel 14 in Evansville, Indiana. If you're just happening upon us here on Facebook, Dara, Channel 14 News in Evansville, Indiana. And Cheyenne answered that for us as well. All right, let's talk a little bit about these storm chances. There's no storms to worry about this evening. We've got clear skies over the tri-state right now, and it's going to stay mostly clear through the rest of tonight. Tomorrow, just a few passing clouds. I think any chance of rain on Saturday is going to stay to our north. So tomorrow, A few clouds, but mostly sunny and dry, just still miserably hot and humid. Mostly clear overnight Saturday night too, but then by Sunday morning we start to see more clouds and a very isolated chance of rain. I think most of us will probably stay dry Sunday morning, but I wouldn't rule out a stray shower Sunday morning. Most of the day on Sunday, though, is going to be dry. We'll even see quite a bit of sunshine. And again, it's still going to be dangerously hot. By Sunday evening, though, we've got scattered showers and storms that kind of blow through and stick with us into Monday morning. I forgot to put a pause point in there. Let me back that up for you. Get my little wheelie computer out here so I can back that up so we can get a better view of it. Whoop, there it is. All right, so starting that evening, here comes those showers and storms, and then continuing through the overnight hours Sunday night, and then on into very early Monday morning, very, very early. I think, probably before 8 a.m. or so, and then that rain starts to push back out. So there's the idea of when we could see some of that rain Sunday into Monday there. There is this level 1 risk that we could maybe get an isolated strong to severe storm out of that. That encompasses the entire tri-state and then some. This level 1 risk goes from Missouri all the way across most of Illinois, Indiana, all of Kentucky, and all the way to the East Coast. I will say the greater risk for severe weather Sunday night seems to be in Virginia. That's where they have a level 2 risk for some scattered strong to severe storms. Here at home, we're in that level 1 risk, so overall our threat for severe weather is very low. If we were to get any strong to severe storms, I think the main concerns here would be very heavy rain and some damaging wind gusts. We'll obviously get a better picture as we go through the course of the weekend, but as of right now, I don't really see much of a hail or tornado threat from this. It would primarily be torrential downpours and some damaging wind gusts if we were to get any severe weather, and that would again be primarily overnight Sunday night and into very early Monday morning as a cold front passes through the tri-state. But again, the good news is that cold front is what's going to help break this heat. So we've got this heat wave continuing through the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Highs in the mid to maybe even upper 90s in some locations. Heat index well into the triple digits. Then that cold front moves through. It's not exactly going to be refreshing. I mean, we're still talking upper 80s to low 90s, but it's just going to be kind of typical mid-August weather instead of extreme heat warning kind of weather, right? So we're going from dangerously hot to just normal summertime heat as we go through next week, and that's what we'll have for most of the next week. Looking Thursday into Friday, it does seem like we may have another weak cold front moving through. I'm not convinced we're going to see a whole lot from that, but it could cool us down a little bit more possibly than as we head into next weekend. But not real confident in the forecast for next weekend just yet. Now, I mentioned that tornado that hit Winslow and Pike County. Let's talk a little bit about that here. We had 2 tornadoes move through Wednesday afternoon. One of those was just outside of the tri-state in Knox County, and then the other one was in Pike County. Both of them were fairly short, fairly brief, but still very impactful to the areas that they hit. The one in Knox County was on the north end of Bruceville there. That's just to the northeast of Vincennes. That was an EF1. There was also an EF1 that hit Winslow in Pike County. This had winds of 110 miles an hour. It was on the ground for about a mile, and at its widest point it was about 250 yards wide, but it went right through the middle of Winslow. So it started in a neighborhood just west of the intersection of Highway 61 and Brenton Street. As it moved to the southeast, it damaged some manufactured homes and outbuildings, uprooted and snapped about a dozen trees. One of those, by the way, fell into a home which is now no longer livable. They're going to have to make some repairs there. That family has been displaced. It also damaged the outside of several other homes, roofs, gutters, things like that. Then it just went right through the middle of Winslow here, and then it lifted near Beardsley Street on the southeast side of Winslow. So it was only on the ground for about a mile, but it just went dead through the middle of Winslow there. Thankfully, no one was hurt in that tornado, but again, there was an EF1 tornado in Winslow in Pike County Wednesday afternoon. National Weather Service has already addressed the fact that there was not a tornado warning in effect when that happened. They were under a severe thunderstorm warning. So there was a warning in effect, but it was a severe thunderstorm warning. They had not upgraded it to a tornado warning, and yet just for that quick moment there, right as it was moving through Winslow, that storm did manage to produce a tornado. That is a risk you run sometimes with severe thunderstorm warnings. These things can happen very fast. The radar does have scans, it swings around and scans, sometimes almost just in between a scan. You can get something that happens that quick. It can happen in just a minute. And so this was one of those times where this just kind of slipped through. They knew it was a strong, in fact, they knew it was a severe storm. They had a severe thunderstorm warning in place. They did not have a tornado warning in effect, though, when that storm went through. So it does seem like, thankfully, the folks in Winslow were at least indoors and away from windows, seeking some shelter from that storm as it was rolling through, even though it was not a tornado-warned storm. The National Weather Service is going back, looking at that, using it as a training and learning opportunity to try and improve their warnings for the next time. But overall, we're really proud of our partners at the National Weather Service. They really do a great job. Just every once in a while, Mother Nature throws us a curveball, and unfortunately this curveball went right through the middle of Winslow. So we're really glad everybody is okay there. Aside from Winslow, we didn't have any other tornadoes in the tri-state. We did get some very heavy rain and just a slight dip in our temperatures. We had temperatures in the low to mid 90s basically since last Friday. We had a high of 94 on Wednesday. Then those storms moved through. It's been just a couple degrees cooler, but still very humid the past couple of days. So there hasn't been any real meaningful change in that heat. As that storm moved through Evansville, it did put down more than 1.5 inches of rain, though. So we got a good heavy downpour from those stronger thunderstorms. In total, we have had nearly 2 inches of rain this month in Evansville, which is a 1/2 inch more than normal. August is typically a pretty hot, dry month. We are still running about 3 inches short on rain for the year, but you have to remember we had that drought for much of the spring. So we were running, it was like 1.5 feet short on rain at one point earlier this year. So we've been slowly creeping our way back out of that. Our average temperature, no surprise there, we've been in the 90s for a week straight, is running a couple degrees warmer than normal. I want to point out that's not just the highs, that's these warm nights adding to that as well, as we've had several nights where our lows only made it down into the mid to upper 70s, and we've got a couple more nights like that ahead of us. That chance of storms Sunday night into Monday does cool us back down some. Like I said, it'll still be pretty hot, but it's more typical for this time of year. Then Thursday into Friday, another weaker cold front may move through, drop us just a couple degrees, but I'm not convinced that that cool down would last very long. Looking at the extended outlook from Saturday, August 22nd through the following week, I don't see any real significant trends toward wetter or drier than normal weather. So we may or may not get some rain. It's not a real clear indication of any kind of big rainmaker or any kind of major high pressure building in that would keep us dry for an extended period of time either. The extended temperature outlook does show a trend towards slightly above average temperatures, but I will say, looking at the hazards outlook, it seems like the risk of any kind of dangerous heat like what we're dealing with this weekend would most likely stay to our southwest. So as we get beyond this 7-day forecast into the following week, it is possible we'll warm back up. But it's looking like we'll probably stay outside of that dangerous heat. So we really just have to get through this weekend, and after that it would be more just the typical July, or I'm sorry, not July, we're well into August now. School started. I'm wishing it was still, back in summer along with all the kids. I'm sure they're wishing it was July instead of August as we're starting school back now. But anyway, I digress. We just have to get through this weekend, then it's more just typical August heat rather than that extreme heat warning kind of heat that we're dealing with this weekend. Misty is concerned that Mount Vernon's not going to see any rain Sunday night. This many days out, Misty, those models are really just kind of giving an indication of what might happen. The point is we would have some scattered rain moving through the tri-state Sunday night. Who will get that rain, who will get mist, who will get heavy rain and thunderstorms versus just a few showers. It's way too early to tell anything like that. So don't give up, Misty. I think it's very, very possible Mount Vernon will get some rain on Sunday night. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, we are still on alert for dangerous heat Saturday and Sunday, and then the possibility of a few strong to severe storms Sunday night into Monday morning, but our risk for severe weather seems low. The bigger impact from that cold front is not the storms, it's the fact that it'll help break this heat wave we've been stuck in for nearly a week and bring our temperatures back down closer to normal. I'll have another look at your forecast on 14 News tonight at 10. I hope you'll join us then, and we'll be back on here again tomorrow night at 9 as well. Everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend.